Now, are you looking to get registered with a foreign tax authority, maybe the German tax authorities to get a VAT number, or you're someone else somewhere in the world is asking you for, as a US resident, for Form 6166 or 8802? And you're like, what does this even mean? What is it? So basically, what it is it certifies you or your company, depending on how you register this. Are a US resident for tax purposes. Now, the intent of this video is not to go into the ramifications of how having this form may affect or not affect certain taxes, either in the United States or elsewhere. It's to show you the mechanics of really filling out Form 8802, which is essentially the application to get Form 6166, which is essentially a certificate. So, for example, I have a service where I help folks expand into Amazon's international marketplaces, and I work with accountants in Europe. And one thing they'll sometimes request if folks are looking to get a German VAT number so that they can sell on Amazon in Germany, which could be a great opportunity for them. And they need Form 6166. Now, the way I understand it, the way it's been explained to me, the German VAT authorities will take Form 8802, which essentially, again, it's the application for the certificate. So the IRS processes Form 8802, the application, to get you the certificate, which is basically they're certifying that you are a tax resident, or your company is taxed as a tax resident, essentially. Now, if you have any questions on how this affects things, talk to the appropriate tax advisor. My intent here, again, is not to give you tax or financial advice, but to point you in the right direction and show you at least the mechanics of filling out this form. Because what I've found is you end up talking to the experts on the general concepts, but then you're kind of stuck in limbo trying to figure out how to fill out this form. Now, there are instructions and whatnot. How does this apply? And so I've done it myself in my own business, and I'm helping clients do that as well. So I figured I'd kind of just document the process. So if you find this video to be helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel, as well as I'd love to know your comments, your thoughts in the comments down below. So basically, let's just reiterate what is Form 8802. So let me just share my screen here real quick. So we're going to share my screen where I'll have a link to this article on irs.gov, where basically was just talking about, like I just said, that Form 8802 is the request for Form 6166. And Form 6166 is a letter of U.S. residency certifications for the purposes of claiming benefits under an income tax or value-added tax exemption. So don't get too caught up in the exemption part, especially if you're an Amazon seller. In my experience, you still have to pay the VAT taxes. It's more just, I think they just, maybe it's more for their income tax purposes. I don't fully understand the why. I just know that the what is you need it. And so if you stumbled on this video for any particular other reasons, this will at least help you kind of walk through this form and kind of what I've learned about this form. So there is the form itself, which I've got right here, which we'll fill out together. There's the instructions that are on here. So the first thing I would recommend doing is, if you go on here, you're going to see that you're going to either have to pay $85 or $185 at the time I record this. And of course, that is subject to change. So make sure you read for your particular situation. But this here in the user fee section, that individual applicants, and they do give a description of what an individual is versus a non-individual applicant. So choose whatever is the situation for you. You can do either $85 or $185 to process the form. That's basically the processing fee. So if you're not 100% sure what applies to you, you can always call IRS or speak with a I will tell you, most likely your CPA is not sure what this is. It was my CPA is an excellent CPA, but I don't think that, if I recall, I checked with them and they weren't really 100% sure on this, because this is not a normal form that most folks go through. In fact, there's very little documentation out there. So I don't expect a lot of views on this video, but I expect, or at least hope, I should say, that this video is helpful for folks that are really looking to figure this out. So the first thing I would do is, I would suggest doing it paying electronically. That's up to you. You can also send in a check or money order, but I just feel like sometimes that gets lost or there's processing. I like to have um, a digital footprint that I can always go back to because I can get, the payment processed immediately with my bank and I can there's a lot more I can do. So, basically what we'll do here is I'm going to go to, let's see, to pay.gov. And I found in the instructions, they recommend that if you do the electronic payments, that if you go to pay.gov, in fact, let's just look that up here real quick. Pay.gov. You're going to enter IRS certs in the search box. Why? I guess that's IRS certifications is the keyword that the government's looking for. So I've already got it in there so it doesn't auto populate when you go to pay.gov. Pay.gov is like you pay your taxes, you can pay basically whatever you're supposed to pay to the US government. So in this case, we're paying for the certification document. So we look up IRS certs. And then see here certification for IRS payment form 8802. So we know we're in the right place. Please use the agency tracking ID and confirmation as the confirmation number. Then you'd click this, go ahead and just go through the motions of paying for it. That part should be pretty self-explanatory. And then you're going to get basically a receipt that looks something like this. And so this I had done a couple of years ago. And you are going to get this here pay.gov tracking ID and the agency tracking ID. So there's two tracking IDs. What they mean, I don't fully know, but they seem to be there. So at least I put both of them on my form because I wanted to make sure that they could link to it and get the proper, what's the word I'm looking for? The proper tracking so that there wouldn't be any holdups on the application. So once you've paid that and you've got this receipt, I would go ahead and keep a copy of this receipt. As I understand it, if you're getting a VAT number in Germany, they will accept Form 8802, which is again your application, as long as they have proof that you've paid the government, the US government, that is, for the form, because they at least kind of know that part of how it works. So now we're going to get to the actual filling out of the application. So I'm just going with what my situation is when I filled it out. I'm going to use kind of some broad strokes generalities. And then what I would suggest doing is, of course, read the instructions if you're not 100% sure what applies to you or your particular situation. And then, of course, tweak anything if you have any inkling that what I'm saying here doesn't necessarily apply to yours. But this should work for at least the basics. Structure of how we're doing this should work. So electronic payment confirmation. So what I would suggest doing is putting in your pay.gov tracking ID, and then just put whatever that number is that they gave you on your receipt. And then I would also put in the agency tracking ID again, so that way there's no confusion, that both parties have it on the form. Like, I believe someone's going to have to enter this into a computer somewhere else. So they'll know better what fields they need to fill out. Tracking ID, Y. And I just picked, X and Y. Yours, of course, will have, no, I believe it was in both. Actually, it looks like on mine, the agency tracking ID was all numbers and the pay.gov tracking ID was a series of numbers and letters. All right. So applicant's name. So I'm assuming if you're doing this as a company, you could also do this as an individual. If this is what the purposes was, I'm doing this as a company. So we'll say Acme Products LLC. And we'll put in the taxpayer identification number, which could either be your EIN if you're doing it as a company or your social security number. So let's just say this is an EIN 999 9999. I think that's the right number. Nines. Usually it's 9 digits, regardless of where the dashes are. If this is for a spouse, and you put that here. If you're doing this as an individual, whatever your situation is. But skipping ahead to the other basics. And if the name and taxpayer identification number should be different than what's above. Basically, if it's not this, you could put it here. For a lot of folks, this is what it's going to be. If you're assuming you're registering your company name, and so you could send it to basically you can put in your address here. So let's say 555 Main Street, Fort Lauderdale, whatever your address is, of course, 33303, which I think is a Fort Lauderdale zip code. I don't live in Fort Lauderdale. And then let's say you want it sent to the form where they're going to send the actual 6166, like the certification form. That'll go to, let's say, Acme Products, LLC. Let's see if we can copy that there. No, it doesn't look like it's allowing me to. 555 Main Street, Fort Lauderdale. And then appointee information, see instructions. Check the instructions. I left it blank when I did it, but just if you need to. Appointee, I believe, is like if you had a tax preparer or somebody was helping you with it, you might put their information in here. But again, always check back at the instructions if you're not 100% sure on something here. So the applicant is individual. Now, this could be a little confusing because if you're an LLC, you have what's called a disregarded entity. So, and your LLC might also be an S corp. So, whatever you think it makes sense. So let's just say I'm going to use, since I used Acme Products as an LLC, I'm going to put that here. So if something else is the appropriate box or boxes, check them. I would say there's probably strange situations where you might have multiple here, but I think it's more when they say boxes, it's like the box underneath the box, like the subcategory, so to speak. So then, fill out, the appropriate form here. So like in this case, put the Acme Products again, the name of the company, which is a complete made up name. And then this is how I had checked it off. So I had left it blank here in number 5. And it seemed to go through okay. I didn't get any questions back, but then again, you never know who's going to read it. So you may just want to double check that. So, in fact, I think I might have called someone and they said I could leave it blank. So double check this one here if you're not comfortable with that, but I left it blank when I had filled it out in the past. Was the applicant's parent, organization, or owner required to file a U.S. tax form? This says you only have to do if you check no on line 5, but I went ahead and I put my name. So put my name and address here. So name, address, city. Well, this would be like Fort Lauderdale. My example here. And then it would be like 999. Calendar years for which certification is requested. If the certification is for calendar year or years for which a tax return is not required to be filed, penalties of perjury under Table 2, which is what I would suggest doing. And this sounds like, ooh, scary. But it's basically, there's literally a cut and paste in the instructions, and I'll show you how to do that. So like, for example, like right now it's 2021. So let's say you needed this for 2021, which I would say is probably what your tax authorities are looking for if you're in 2021. Well, I haven't filed here in March. I haven't filed income taxes for 2020 yet. So the last year I'd file for would be 2019. Well, here in lieu of doing in lieu of doing like an actual tax return, we can, under penalty of perjury, certify, make sure that the certifications, of course, are correct because it is under penalty of perjury, but it's pretty much cut and paste. I can put the year's certifications will be based on. So I'm going to say 2021. If you're watching this in the future and you need it for 2023 or whatever the case is, put that year. Purpose of the certification is for whatever reason you need it. So in my case, it's going to be VAT. I looked up, you can always Google NICS IRS codes. I found if you are an online seller, this seemed to work 45411, which if we Google NII, the NAICS. Oh, here we go. In fact, I looked it up. It's electronic shopping and mail order houses, so online retailer basically. And so put that there. And then here's where it gets weird. This under penalties of perjury and additional information required enter here. It just seems weird. Like, where do I get that? So come back here to the instructions. So we'll just put perjury, something to find it, which we don't want to commit perjury for the record. Penalties of perjury statements and attachments. Okay, so let's exit here. So we're coming down here to this table. So depending on what you checked off up here, you will have a different statement that you're looking for here, was the way I understood it. So just pay close attention if your applicant is this and you're making a statement here. So for example, if I was doing this with the US government as a disregarded entity, and if you're not sure what that means, it basically means all the taxes and everything are almost disregarded in a sense at the corporate level, and it all just flows down to the owner or owners. So as a disregarded entity, we need a statement from the owner, which they've so kindly put for us right here. So we're going to go ahead and paste that into the form. This certifies that we'll just change the insert name because they want it. It's kind of like I state your name. What was that movie? It said state your name. It's trading as oh wait, hold on. I may have done that wrong. Oh, okay. That oh yes. That Joe Blow, whatever your name is, 999-999-9999 is trading as Acme Products LLC is a single owner limited liability company that's treated as disregarded entity for U.S. income tax purposes. That Joe Blow is the single owner of Acme Products LLC. And of course, you'll tweak your own with this. And as such, this is such a formality here. Joe Blow, the owner, is to take into account all income, blah, 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 and credits of Acme Products LLC. Then print your name. So if you're not doing this as a joint application as an individual, you wouldn't have to worry about your spouse if you file jointly. But if you're doing this like as the owner of a company, you just need your own. And then date it, put your phone number there, and then you would print that out, and then also print out this, and then mail it to the address on the instructions. So if we look up mail, oops, I don't want to use theirs. Yes, in fact, they said specifically don't send it to this address. This is for something completely different. Oh, here we go. No, that's your mailing address. Oh, there is one other step. You need to do here. I almost forgot. Acme Products LLC 99-99999, whatever yours is. Pointed name, just put your name. I don't think is necessarily how you have to do it. It's how I had done it when I did. The years for certification, let's say 2021. This is kind of weird. Like they want you to put whatever countries you need this for, how many certifications you need. So, for example, if it's for Germany, we put 1. If it's for also another one, whatever you're doing this for appropriately, make sure to put it in here. Let's just say it's just for Germany. So you're adding up a total certifications from column B of all of these all these countries in column B is 1. Then if you added up all the columns here, the total will be here. So in this case, it'll be 1. So now back to where to send. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to send it to this right here, electronic payments. So you include the, I would do the receipt of the e-payment and form 8802 signed and any other requirements it's instructed you to send to this address here. I hope this video has been helpful. It's a kind of a confusing form. And there's not a lot of documentation out there. So I hope this has been helpful for you. So if this was helpful, please consider liking this video and leaving a comment down below. If you want more form videos like this, it's kind of a not a topic I normally would talk about, but it is something that affects at least international selling for folks on Amazon. And if you stumbled on this video and it helped you for other purposes, I would love to know that as well. So thank you so much, and I wish you the best. Take care.